Hi, and welcome to Speech Time with Miss McDonald. Today, we're going to be focusing on building language and vocabulary, reciprocal play, and joint attention by doing some activities in the kitchen. This is going to really help us to help our children to play and to have fun with us. And we're even teaching them how to behave and how to interact with items inside of the kitchen. What I first need you to do is make sure that you have an area that is completely clear except for all of the utensils and items that we're going to be using today. It's really important for your child to make sure that they're not too distracted with what's going on around them except for you and the activity in front of them. That will help you to, one, build their attention, and two, keep their attention, which is the harder part in that. So what we're really going to be doing is making a fun sensory activity where we allow our students to enjoy and engage in different textures, and we're going to be describing it to them and seeing how they feel about it. A lot of times we're going to be bombarding them with language and seeing if they can imitate what we are asking of them. We're also trying to figure out if they can follow our lead as well as following their lead, because that's where the real language grows. We're going to be showing them how to engage with our different sensory activities today, giving them some structure and then letting them take the lead as they explore the structure that we have set up for them. Let me show you what that looks like. So first, I want you to see if your child can follow these simple one-step commands. You can model for them. Oh, scoop, take the spoon, giving them the language for spoon. Scoop into our bag of flour and pour inside. You can do this with them, taking their hand, scooping it, and pouring it inside. If that's too much for them, you can do something even more simple and just have them reach into the bag or a set-aside bag that you have and see if they can pick it up with their hands and put it inside of a bowl. That's what we're going to be doing next anyway, so let's get to it. Ask your child with their very clean and freshly washed hands to pick up some of our flour and pour it, sprinkle it onto our pan. Pour it, sprinkle it onto our pan. As they're pouring and sprinkling, talk to them about what they're feeling, what they're hearing. You can say, ooh, look at the flour. What color is it? What does it feel like? It's soft. Ooh, the flour is soft. I like to touch the flour. You've taught them the vocabulary word flour. You've talked about feel, teaching them what something feels like. You're expressing to them that you like it. They're seeing you smile. They're seeing you enjoy in the engagement in the activity. And if they're smiling and they're enjoying putting their hands on the flour, then you're modeling for them the language that they are feeling. You like this. This feels nice. You like flour. Pour the flour. You can talk about how the flour sounds as it hits the foil. Sounds like it's raining as the flour hits the foil. There are many different ways that you can bombard your child with language and helping them understand the world around them by giving them these simple tasks and modeling for them the language that you would want them to learn in that moment. Now, after you've gotten your foil nice and covered with a lot of flour, I want you to just let your child explore the flour on the pan. Just allow them to play in it. Give them some time. If they were able to model and imitate what you had just done by taking your hand into the flour and pouring it on, they were able to imitate that, and you even had some turn taking there, great. Give them a second to just explore the flour. Let them pick it up and sprinkle it. Let them pat it. Let them touch it. If they happen to be a kiddo who wants to lick it, it's not going to harm them too much to actually just be exploring flour. You want to deter them, of course, from eating all of the product and the activity that we're engaging in, but If it happens to get in their mouth, it's not the end of the world. You know what? Because it's edible. So let's keep exploring our flower. Okay, after you've let them have a little bit of time just exploring, taking a beat, take their lead, imitate what they're doing. If they're patting, you pat. If they're picking up, you pick up. And keep imitating. Oh, you're patting. Tell them what they're doing. Talk to them about what it is that they're experiencing and see if they can imitate any of the words that you're saying. After that has happened, give yourself some time to generate structure again. We have patted and played, practiced verbs and some one-step directions. Now let's see if we can continue that by asking them to do simple tasks like, can you draw a line? Make a simple line. See if they can imitate that. They might draw a line. If they can't, they might claw the whole page. They might claw the whole pan. But it's a start. They're imitating a part of your action, right? We're gonna see if they can imitate more. Let's see if you can say, can you make a circle? And here's where some of our basic concepts come into play. You can ask them to make a circle. Teaching them what the shape is, talking about how it's round, and then seeing if they can imitate it. If they're actually trying, but they can't get it quite right, you can model some hand-over-hand supports for them to see if they can make that circle, if they allow you to. If they don't, no worries. This is supposed to be fun, and we're going to keep it going. Pat it down. See what else we can make. If they continue to be engaged, let's keep it going. What about, I want us to make a triangle. See if your child can make a triangle. My crazy looking triangle. So you're asking them to imitate that. You can even draw one side, another side, and see if they can complete it. It's engagement, it's fun, you're doing it together. The idea is to engage with your child together, but also teach them these basic concepts. Again, you're not forcing them to get this 100% correct, you're exposing them to it this first time. Then we can move on to shapes and numbers. See if your child can do the number 1. Can you make the number 1? See if they can imitate that. You can have your child do the same thing. See if they can make the number 2. See if they can make the number 3. See if they can, we can go into letters. See if they can make the letter A. Can you make the letter A? You try. You can do lowercase or uppercase. You choose. The sky is the limit with what you can do in helping your child to imitate these activities. Can you make the letter A? They make the letter A. Make sure that when your child is doing this correctly or even attempting, you are telling them, oh, you know what, that was a great job, especially if they did it correct. That's perfect. I love how you did that. Give them lots of praise. Big hands, big facial expressions. And if they are having a little bit of difficulty, praise them for giving that effort. You're gonna say something like, oh, I really like how you're trying. I see how you made the line. I can help you make the second line if they allow you to. Enjoy yourself and have fun. Now, we've talked about how we can practice our basic concepts with shapes, with numbers, with letters. Now, if your kiddo has some articulation difficulty, don't you know you can use this as well? You can definitely practice engaging in articulation practice by doing something as simple as let's practice our word. Let's say, or our sound. Let's say that the sound is I want you to draw the letter M for your child. Draw that letter M and ask them to say the sound. Each time they're able to imitate the sound, make another M. Make another M. Make another M. Each time they're able to imitate that sound. At the end, count how many M's they were able to make. Give them a high five. Tell them they did a great job. If they were not able to produce those sounds, still give them credit for trying. Tell them, I like how you tried. Let's try it again. Put your lips together and make sure you're making a sound. You can also just make a smiley face. Each time your child is practicing that speech sound, you can give them a smiley face inside of the flower. And just keep making smiley faces for each time they try, each time they're engaging in the activity, particularly if they do not like to practice their speech sounds. This is a great activity to continue to practice speech sounds in repetition and doing it a lot of times. We call that drill, but making it a little more engaging. We've talked about basic concepts, 1 to 2 step commands. We've also talked about building language throughout this activity and practicing articulation. And all you had to do was have a pan and some flour. Look at that. Not all these toys and all these electronics. We had a pan and some flour. So sometimes all we need is to simplify it a bit, right? So here we go. Now, you might be wondering where these two come into play. And let me tell you, we are going to add some water. We're going to tell our kiddo, hey, how about we put water inside? Can you find the water? See if they know which one the water is. If they're unable to reach for it, see if they can look to it. If they're unable to look to it, put 2 items in front of them and see if they select the right one. If that's still too difficult, you're just gonna show them water. This is the water. Allow them to touch the water, feel the water, experience the water before you add it to the before you add it to the flour, excuse me. So make sure that you're able to, again, practice that vocabulary with your child. Make sure that they're touching it, experiencing it, hearing the language as you're talking about the water. It feels wet. Make sure they hear the contrast between the water and the flour. The flour feels dry. Okay? So what you're going to do next is just ask your student to pour that water on there. Say, okay, it's time to pour. Assist your child or your student as you pour with them. Pouring. Make sure you're labeling what's happening. We are pouring the water. You're only pouring small teaspoons of water around the flour. What happens when we pour flour into water? What are we making, guys? If you are someone who's cooking or someone who's baking, you know what this is about to form. Our nice doughy substance. You're going to allow your child to mix their fingers in this nice gooey doughy substance, and you're going to describe how it feels. It feels wet. It feels gooey. It feels sticky. Talk to them. Laugh with them. Make it fun. I'm describing what this looks like first before I get my fingers all messy, because I don't always like my fingers to get messy, like some of our children. If your children do not like to get their fingers sticky, it's okay. You might have them start with a spoon and then take the spoon away and allow them to just maybe touch it with their finger. If they're not so interested in that, maybe they might try to take your finger and touch it, and maybe they'll be willing to touch just your finger. You don't want to always force them, but to experience it with them and give them small amounts of exposure so that you continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until it doesn't bother them to dive in and get really sticky and messy. So as you're diving in and getting really sticky and messy, talk about how it feels. Oh, look, it's so gooey. Watch it fall down. Ooh, watch it fall down. Make sure you're telling your child what's happening. Say, it's sticking to your fingers. This is stick. It's sticky. They might be uncomfortable with it at first, but make sure you're reassuring them, oh, this is fun. It's so sticky. Look at what we're doing. This might help to calm them if they don't necessarily like it at first, or they might be completely into it, and make sure that you're modeling that language. Oh, you like this. This is fun. I like flour. I like water. I like dough. Ooh, stick, 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 stick. Lots of modeling language. Poke, 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 poke. You're adding a lot of these verbs in there because we're not just labeling the different items that we're using, but we're pairing them with verbs, right? Let's squish the dough. Let's poke the dough. Hi, dough. Hello. Let's roll it. Roll, roll, roll the dough. Roll it round and round. Rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. Splat! We made a sound. Make up silly songs if it goes with your kiddo and if they like it. See if they can roll it and imitate what you're doing with their own hands. And if they can't, of course, help them. Go and take their hands and help them to roll the dough as well. After you have definitely used up most of your flour and most of your water, you can ask your child, maybe we should add some more. See if they're interested in adding more water, and you're gonna model more water. You can also allow your child to touch or feel the water and then say more, here's more, because we're getting them to understand that we're asking them a question. Ooh, more water, here's more water. As we're adding more water, just a few teaspoons, bloop, bloop, bloop. We're gonna add more flour. Allow them to touch that flour, modeling more, and put that flour inside. See if they'll imitate, and again, if they are unable to, give them some hand over hand supports. More flour. Drip, 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 drop, drop, drop. More flour. And this time, we're going to add our lentils. We're going to put our hand into our lentil bowl. We're going to talk about how it feels. We're going to tell them, ooh, new, something new. Ooh, new, something new. Make sure you're expressing that in your facial expressions and your intonation. And then you're going to describe to them what's the new thing that they're feeling. Ooh, it feels hard. Let's pour it inside. Ooh, it feels hard. Let's put it inside. Drip, 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 drip. And we're adding lentils. And we're going to repeat. Squish, squish, squish. Allow them to dive in there and squeeze and smush and squish. Look for their reactions. See if they're interested. See if they like it. And if they're not, but they're really interested in watching you, this is still an awesome moment for you to engage them in lots of language bombardment, okay? They might not be interested in the sensory portion yet. Remember, we're getting there, but we can still participate in the language bombardment of the activity. Look at how we're actually making our sticky, gooey, doughy mess. And all the lentils are doing is adding an extra texture to our concoction. An extra texture to our concoction. I really like these sensory activities to help our friends who are having a hard time getting their words out, a hard time expressing or letting us know the things that they want or don't want, a hard time really being able to generate those wants and needs. I love these types of activities because for some of those friends, this is so fun and they're so interested and they're motivated to communicate or even motivated to engage with us. Give us that eye contact, that back-to-back reciprocal interaction, okay? I definitely also like this for my friends who are picky eaters. And let me tell you why. Some of our friends who, one, don't like that process of eating at all they don't really want to come to the dinner table. This is a fun way to flip it around on them. You're introducing them to a spoon without actually making them eat anything. So they don't have that adverse reaction to the spoon as much because you're using it as a tool for play versus a tool for the function of eating. You're also exposing that kiddo to a lot of textures that they might experience when they're eating food, again, without making them actually have to partake in eating. It's a fun activity, right? We're exposing them to items that we see in food and in the kitchen, a lot of these textures, but we're putting it on their hands. Another way to engage in this activity, but especially for our friends who are very texture sensitive, if they just didn't want any parts of this, they didn't want to touch it, they didn't want to engage in it, but they enjoyed watching you do it, what you could do is after you formed your nice, big, sticky, ooey gooey ball, you can just put it in front of them. You can touch it and squish it and see if they'll imitate just poking it. See if they'll imitate just even allowing it to be near them without flinching or wanting to be away from it. If they give you that small, like they're willing to just squeeze it, see if they'll let you put it on the back of their hand. Make it fun, say, oop, or uh-oh, it's coming to get you, yum, yum, yum. Uh-oh, he's gonna come and eat you, yum, yum, yum. Something very simple, make it playful, make it fun. We're exposing them to these textures, but we're doing it in a way that desensitizes them to some of those negative experiences they might be having with feeding. See if you can eventually work your way up on their bodies until you get to their face. Once you're around their face, see if they will actually let you touch it with their lips. That way, we are desensitizing them to these textures all the way up to their lips. Okay? This is one way to help your very, very picky eater, especially if they're very texture averse. If your child is totally into this, I would definitely just keep going, let them play. You're giving some structure, but you're also letting your child lead. You're imitating what they're doing, but you're also giving some structure to imitate what you're doing. Model all types of ways for them to play with this. You can tell them to squeeze it, to smush it, to squish it, to rip it. Rip, rip. And as you're ripping, you can count. Rip, 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 rip. You can count how many that you're ripping. 1, 2, 3, 4. After you've counted them all, just tell them, let's pick them all up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that way, you're still counting, you're practicing a lot of these concepts, the basic concepts that we were exploring earlier. I really hope that this activity is fun and engaging for you and your child. I'm actually enjoying it myself. I love to play with the dough after it's completed. To make it have an extra step, you can add food coloring. If you're worried about your little one in the lentils, you can skip the lentils and do a different texture. Sometimes I like to add rice, sometimes lima beans, sometimes pinto beans. I like lentils because they're a little smaller. You can also add a completely different texture and do food coloring naturally. Add some blueberries in there. Add some raspberries. Put them in different temperatures. Have some cold blueberries. Have some warm raspberries. Add it to it. See how the colors change. See how they respond to how it feels. The options are endless, okay? You can take this and do so much with you and your little one and just enjoy the moment, especially right now. Okay guys, I hope this was helpful. If you liked this video, please go ahead and like it and subscribe. And I really am doing this just because I really want to help you guys. So I hope this really helped. And if it did, let me know. Okay, that was it. Bye guys.